So welcome back to another video here in Pennsylvania, and we're here in another cemetery doing another video on cemetery symbols. Mentioned this book in the past, Understanding Cemetery Symbols. You can see the name of the author. Yeah, I think a week or two ago I did the first video on that. That was fun. I enjoyed just walking around, looking at different symbols and looking them up in the book to see what they mean, and they can tell you a lot about the person that's buried there. Different things about their life, even their age, how they died, things like that. So we're back at a different location this time. So we are up in Schuylkill County today at the Charles Baber Cemetery. I was here years ago already, so you can see some symbolism. There's a tall column up there. I think we'll visit that one later. I think it's the Yingling gravesite. We're in Pottsville. I should mention that too. See the urn at the top there. Talk about urns in the previous episode. Might mention them again. Over there I see like there's a ball on top of that grave, the wreath around it. This is a pretty cool cemetery. And another reason I chose to come here is because on this side of the mountain, in the first episode we were down in my home area, Berks County, which is predominantly German. We look at some of the older tombstones that had like the skull and the crossbones on them. Here on this side of things, up here in Schuylkill County, this side of the mountain, it's a bit different. The culture's a bit different. Going back, you know, it wasn't settled. There were some Germans that settled up here, but there's a lot of Eastern European influence up here. Russian, Ukrainian, Polish, Lithuanian. So there's a lot of different styles here and symbolism in some of the grave markers. So I thought we'd come to a different, you know, cultural area to get a different look at things. All right, let's quit yapping and we'll start looking at some of these symbolism things. So here's an interesting one. You have a nice polished ball with a wreath around it. It's not one we have seen before, at least in our other video. Here over here we have a tall column, almost like an obelisk. So I did look up this one. I'll find a place to tell you about that, but then we'll look up what this one means too. Alright, so the one for a ball is not quite as interesting, but so here, got in the book here. So stone balls at a grave site may simply be meant as a decorative element. However, cannonballs are often used for war monuments and veterans. That's not a cannonball though. When a pedestal, which is what that is over there, is topped by a single polished stone ball, it most likely represents the universe. So that's what that can mean. And the wreath does have a meaning as well. So you can get to where the wreaths are. I'll get back to you in a moment here. Alright, here we go. The symbolism of the wreath is the circular shape of a wreath stands for the eternal memory and immortality. Yeah, so once again, the ball could just be simply decorative, but it does have a wreath around it too. So the wreath can represent immortality, and the ball can be just a representative of the universe. So maybe the idea of, you know, that life goes on after death is what they're trying to say. Here we have a column or an obelisk. Column can simply mean that this person lived a full and noble life. But if the column is broken off, it's only half of the column, it generally means that someone's life was cut short. Yeah, so once again, the ball could just be simply decorative, but it does have a wreath around it too. So the wreath can represent immortality, and the ball can be just a representative of the universe. So maybe the idea of, you know, that life goes on after death is what they're trying to say. Here we have a column or an obelisk. Column can simply mean that this person lived a full and noble life. But if the column is broken off, it's only half of the column, it generally means that someone's life was cut short. I haven't found one of those yet, but it would be interesting to find one of those, find a broken column. And even the ivy that's engraved at the bottom of this column has the idea of immortality once again, because ivy is an evergreen plant. It doesn't lose its leaves over winter, so it has the idea of immortality. See all these like little hidden meanings. Alright, let's keep looking. But as you can see, there are a lot of tombstones too that don't have any kind of decorative features. They're just very basic. Nothing wrong with that. A lot of times it's the people that have some money that can make the more decorative ones that have different symbolism and stuff. I think back towards the chapel, I didn't mention there's a beautiful chapel back up that way. There's some more decorative grave markers. But this is a beautiful place just to walk, so we'll just keep going. There's a huge column, probably denoting a family plot. Alright, I've spotted something down here. Of course, there's an urn up there. We'll talk about that in a moment. But there's a symbol here. It's just a cross. Okay. We'll see if this particular type of cross has any meaning. There's a whole chapter in this book on different types of crosses, so we'll take a look. Yeah, so this one would be called a Greek cross. All four ends are the same size. So the book says sometimes they can refer to the four different elements, but I think the Greek cross also refers to the Eastern Orthodox Church, which were up in that area. Like I said, with the Eastern European influence here, a lot of them were Eastern Orthodox, so that could be where that comes from as well. I almost thought that was my Jeep pulling up there, but it doesn't have the racks on top. Wow. Yeah, panicked there for a moment. I thought someone just stole my Jeep. It's the exact same color as mine, but now I'm looking back up there to see if mine is indeed still parked up there. Yeah, I see it up there. Mine has the like the roof racks on top, so anyway, had a moment there. Yeah, here's the urn. There are quite a few of those at the other cemetery we visited, because they just kind of point out how at death, how your life is reduced to just to its basic elements. Kind of like a reality of death type thing. And this is actually a really beautiful place to walk. I mean, it is a cemetery, but I just remember that from last time I was here. It's just really scenic. All these beautiful trees. I think when I was here last time, it was autumn. A lot of these trees are changing colors, beautiful yellows and oranges. We'll get back up to where the chapel is later. Like I said, I think there's some really cool looking grave markers up that way. Just noticed this beautiful one here with these beautifully engraved flowers on the side. So there's a whole chapter here in the book on different plants and flowers. Got a shade there, but I believe that's what we're looking at here. These are Easter lilies, I believe. Those look very much like what we see on the marker here. So we turn the page over. Easter lilies, kind of the shade here. Easter lilies represent purity and resurrection. They are frequently associated with Jesus, Mary, Joseph, and Saint Anthony of Padua. Yes, there you go. Even different types of flowers on these grave markers can have different meanings. It's interesting. All right. Guess thinking about. Well, I guess we'll keep going this way a little bit more, but I do want to make my way back up towards the chapel here a bit. But not just yet. Up here's a very interesting looking cross. Almost looks like the Celtic cross, to be honest. There's a more normal looking one over there, but this definitely has that Celtic look to it. Yeah, definitely a Celtic cross. It has that circle around the top. They call it nimbus. It could have some symbolism. It could mean, the book says it could mean like signifying the union of heaven and earth, or it could just simply mean that the people buried here have Irish descent. Of course, this cross up here is just a more normal Christian cross that you see. I do see another Greek cross up here. Let's quick check this one out. Looks like this one's a war veteran. You can see it up ahead here. It has all four arms. I guess you could say they're the same length. Yeah. We got served U.S. World War I he served. James Allen Courtney. Alright, so now I'm making my way back up towards the chapel, and ornate is the word I'm looking for. The tombstones get a bit more ornate up this way. And some of these decorative features are just that. Like this one's kind of cool. Looks like made out of individual rocks. but it's just decorative. I don't think there's really any meaning to that. I do want to correct the whole obelisk. That one we were talking up there was definitely an obelisk and not a column. So an obelisk can mean something a little bit different. So I want to quick correct that. So there's a whole section here on obelisks. Let me read that for you. As a Christian symbol, the obelisk also represents how a person becomes more focused on spiritual goals as they mature. As the wide base of the obelisk narrows, it symbolizes how a soul reunites with God at death by becoming one with Him. So an obelisk does have a different meaning than a column. So we'll see if we can find just something that looks like a regular column. Of course, these are interesting. We don't see these a whole lot down in my home county. Just the one here, it looks like. Yep, here's our first glimpse of the chapel. It is a beautiful building. Yeah, there's the chapel. That is a beautiful church there. I just noticed something over here. Speaking of columns, this one looks like a broken off column over here. Yeah, see how it's broken off? So this should be probably a child whose life was cut short, as the meaning suggests. Unless there was vandalism and it broke off later in life, but let me see if I can read this. Yeah, it does say children of, and it has two names there, so it might be their children. So yeah, some children are buried here. So a broken column represents a life cut short. A full column, a full one would represent a life that was lived to the fullest, but since this one's broken, it means things were cut short. So it's sad, but it's interesting how that symbolism matches what is on here, children. Yeah, so there's another one I'm looking for. I think I mentioned in a previous video where there's a lamb on top of the tombstone. It generally means the same thing. You know, lamb is a young sheep, but represents a life that didn't live to the fullest. So here's a symbol. Here's a cross with a crown going through it. I'm gonna look that up, see what that says in here. Yeah, so a crown with a cross like that, according to the book, can mean things like victory or leadership or the kingdom of heaven. So victory in the idea that this fellow, even in death, you know, life after death, there's still victory in a sense, or just the idea that he was a leader of some kind maybe too. And my Jeep is still there. Right there it is. Of course, here's this big, tall one. This is the Yingling monument. We're here in Pottsville. Yingling beer, because that is a column, we'll say, so a full noble life. There's another view of that beautiful church. I see a really interesting monument over there. A column covered in ivory. There's another urn over there. Yeah, here's another urn. This is a draped one. It has the drape around it and also has a wreath. Got the flowers. This is interesting. I'm gonna look this one up. It's like a bowl. Find a place to look that up in a moment, but I want to check out the one up here. I remember this one from last time. Well, there's another draped urn. You can see it better from the side here. You see the urn and the drape around it. Yeah, this one here. Got a column. So a full noble life surrounded by the ivy, referring to immortality. That's a really nice one. So we get closer. Yeah, so the urn, once again, like we talked earlier, can represent how your life is reduced to its basic elements before going onwards. But a draped urn, if the urn cloth has a fringe, that one didn't. If it has a fringe, it represents the veil between life and death. If there is no fringe, then it represents the earthly garments being shed as the deceased moves from this world to the next. So that's what the draped urn represents a soul moving on. And then the cup, that one back there. So we can find cup again here. Yeah, here we go. Cup, chalice, or goblet. A cup with a stem, like a wine glass, refers to Christianity's holy sacraments. And communion may also symbolize how mankind yearns to be filled with Christ's divine teachings. Of course, as I mentioned earlier, we're in a different type of cultural area than where I was in the previous cemetery on the other side of the mountain in my home county, where it's mostly predominantly German and mostly Protestants, whereas up here in Schuylkill County, I mentioned the whole Eastern European influence, I mentioned the whole Eastern Orthodox Church influence, but up this way too, there's a much more heavy Roman Catholic influence too. So that's the cup, the chalice, talk about Holy Communion and stuff. I mean, Protestants do communion too, but in Roman Catholicism, it's much more, anyway. Yeah, and some of the other symbols we were looking at were associated with Mary and things like that, those Easter lilies. So that shows you, like I said, the different influence of different churches and denominations. You have different styles in your cemeteries too. It's kind of interesting. Yeah, there's another draped urn over there. Once again, representing the soul shedding their earthly garments. There's another globe down here, or ball, but this one does not have a wreath on it. He has quite a few of those draped urns. Seeing some more out here. I think we have some more of those Easter lilies here. Yeah, right here. Those are definitely those Easter lilies again. Well, I see an interesting one down here, but here's that globe without the wreath. That's interesting. It has the same, I feel like it has the same bottom to it as well. But the other one we saw had the wreath around it. Because once again, the ball can just be a decorative item or it could represent the universe. Check out this one down here. Looks like a tree. I think I know what this one is. Wow. Yeah. Yeah, I believe there's a W right there. I came across these other times, cemeteries. I had no idea what was going on. A few people told me, but they're in this book too. This refers to Woodmen of the world. I'll read that to you in a moment, but yeah. This side's a bit in shadow. The other side is much more ornate because you can see it in the sun. Yeah, it looks like a stone tree. Cool. I was actually hoping to find one of these here. I'll find a quieter spot to read you about the Woodmen of the world. Kind of right next to a street here. Maybe a place in the shade too. I think I saw, yeah, here's one with roses. One with like a palm leaf too. I'll read those to you later if I can find anything on them. Some roses and a palm leaf. But anyway, like, I want to find maybe up here. There's some steps up here. Kind of want to sit in the shade. Like I said, once again, just a beautiful place. This is another interesting one. There's really no symbolism, except perhaps some of those. I mean, there's some ivy leaves down there. It's like a little crypt. I mean, there's some regular burials right above it, but then there's the crypt. That's interesting. All right. Yes, up there's another draped urn. Right up here is another Celtic cross, similar to the one we found, and oh, I think I see something interesting up there. But hold on a second, there's other stuff everywhere. There's something right down here too that's different. Yeah, check out this one. It's almost like a boat. Alright, but I want a quick hit up here. Okay, this one's, I'm not sure what this, I feel like I kind of remember this one from last time, years ago, but there's a head. It was like a little child at the top. Oh. What's an angel? It has little wings on the back. But wow. Has the ivy. Didn't live very long, born 1875, 1883. Suffer little children to come to me. It's a Bible verse. Alright, so a little bit of catching up to do on some of these symbols. We saw the palm leaf on the one grave down there, when a palm frond is shown in the hand of a saint, it refers to martyrdom. That one was not in the hand of a saint. There's also a way of telling us that the deceased has been rewarded with eternal peace. Seen on its own, a palm frond symbolizes victory over death and triumph over adversity. Then the rose. So I gotta double check that one because it could symbolize a woman too. Roses refer to like a heavenly perfection. They're also associated with the Virgin Mary, and thus, because of this connection to Mother Mary, roses are symbolic or shorthand for women in general, especially mothers. So maybe it's just down there. We might double check that one to see if it was a woman. And we should do that now before I forget. Then I'll talk about the Woodmen of the World one. I feel like there's another one. Oh yeah, the angel on top of that other one. Right down here was that one with the roses on it. Let's see. Does it belong to a woman? Yeah, Fredrika Analaski. Fredrika, that's a woman's name. That's her husband over there, Joseph. So that's interesting. He has the palm leaf and she has the roses. So once again, this book is spot on, how the roses often denote being a woman. That's cool. All right, so here's some information on the Woodmen of the World. Remember that marker we saw up there? It looked like a stone tree. Because here we are behind a real tree. All right. So some of the most eye-catching monuments you'll see in historic graveyards through the South, even though we're not in the South here, are those erected to honor members of the Woodmen of the World, a fraternal order established in 1890 by a man named Joseph Root. In its earliest days, Woodmen of the World membership was restricted to white men between the ages of 18 and 45, and it gives some different information. Most often to people employed in particularly dangerous occupations, such as a gunpowder factory employees and even bartenders. The club offered health insurance and death benefits to its members, including a uniquely styled cemetery monument, which we saw. The bigger your policy, the bigger this tree-shaped monument would be. That's interesting. In historic cemeteries, these tree-shaped markers can be spotted from quite a distance and are often a good way to tell where the oldest graves will be found. That's interesting too. I feel like maybe we'll find some more in here. While the original group was called Woodmen of the World, there are several splinter groups. If you'll pardon, Woodmen, including the modern Woodmen of the World, Women of Woodcraft, and Neighbors of Woodcraft. Symbolically, these tree stones represent knowledge and life. I'm fighting with the traffic noise. Life. The several branches represent life cut short, while the axe, sledge, and wedge stand for fine works of man. Other symbols often included on Woodmen of the World. Tree stone include doves of peace, lilies for purity, and ivy for friendship. That one seemed like it has several branches that were cut off. So I think that's what that's telling us about that one. I forget what that one was. Maybe we'll look for that one again. Because remember, it had like several, so maybe that's what that means for that fella. Life cut short. Yeah, and back to this one, I just double checked. Yeah, so I was thinking maybe this was an angel, the wings, but it's not. This is a winged child. So the child that died here, this is supposed to represent them, a winged child on their way to heaven. That's what it represents. So this is not actually an angel. This is probably a representation of the girl who died here. And the wings, like I said, the wings represent her flying off to heaven. So there is definitely a lot of symbolism in these cemeteries, and it goes hand in hand. If you might think it's an angel at first, but then you read that it is a young child, and you correlate it with what's in the book. That's indeed what that is. I see another column up there that's been cut off, broken off. We're gonna go up there and check that one out. So, all right. Oh, we did it. I was gonna check the age of that Woodman of the World guy too, but we'll see. I forget what that one was now. Let's head up this way. Yeah, so there, straight up ahead, there's another monument, a column that's definitely broken off at the top. There's another obelisk, more urns. One urn there, another urn back there. More obelisks, another draped urn over there. Yeah, so there's our column. Notice how it's broken off at the top. So Let's see if they have the dates for this guy. So his life should be shorter than normal. Okay. Well, Andrew Russell, 1803 to 1864. So he lived, yeah. He lived to be, what, you know, 60, 61. So I guess in a way you could say his life was maybe cut off. I mean, let me back up here. It is a taller column. The other one we looked at with just the child was a much shorter one. So I think it's still accurate. It is a taller column, but at the same time it is still cut off at the top. So he lived to be longer life, but it was still cut off. You know, that's still fairly young, to be honest, around 60. I mean, you're not even technically retirement age yet, so there's still more life to live. And just as I turn around, here's an interesting one. We're making our way back towards the chapel now. There's an urn with the woman standing next to it. Check out all the symbolism. There's like an obelisk. Here's a, oh, that's like an hourglass. Oh, we gotta look some of this stuff up. I mean, hourglass, you know, you only have a certain amount of time on Earth, I'm guessing. Yeah, so it just took a few moments to look in the book again. This definitely, you know, is the hourglass, referring to a limited time on Earth. And if you look at her age, you know, Elizabeth Weaver Bowen, age 24 years. Yeah, I believe that's a candle. And a candle also refers to the mortality of life, because there's our urn, and then this is probably not an angel. Sometimes they might refer to the Virgin Mary, but I think that's a depiction of Elizabeth herself. I've read that sometimes, that that's what these are. That's representing her. I could be wrong, but I think that might be what it is. It could also be the Virgin Mary, though, especially if it's a Catholic grave, obviously. But yeah, the symbolism is quite starking. You know, candles only burn so long. The hourglass life is limited. He giveth his beloved sleep. And to be honest, looking at some of these markers makes you a little bit sad. You wonder, because it says the wife of Eli. You kind of wonder. You wonder about Eli. You know, wife only lived to be 24 years old. Probably weren't married all that long. Even with that little winged child down there, you wonder who that little girl was. Things like that. All right, see another interesting. There's another broken off column up here. Let's check out. There's an interesting one here too. So many different things. This video is probably getting pretty long, but I am making my way back to White Park. We can always come back here again sometime. You know, doing some yard work. You can hear the blower, but there's a column over there. I think there's a Civil War marker next to the bottom of it. I think I even see like a sword or a saber on it, so we gotta check that one out. But there's one over here. A different type of marker here. Some other type of a column. And I see another one down here with what looks like a saber or something, or a shield. Oh, you know what? This one fell off. This used to be sitting on top of there, but you can see the like the military shield there, and like the saber, the sword, I guess you'd call it, is out of its sheath. And I believe there's a Civil War marker here. Yeah, Grand Army of the Republic. So who is this? Lieutenant Curtis Follick of the 48th Regiment, wounded in the assault on Petersburg, Virginia, died in 1864, the 22nd year of his life. Wow. So, I mean, yeah. So I guess, is this column broken off at the top? No. But it's kind of odd that it's still just sitting here. I mean, it's kind of ironic that it is broken off literally right at the moment, symbolizing his life in a way. But so that's our first military type one we've seen. But let's head up to where was that other one? Up here. There's another like draped column over there. Here's more of these. Oh, I forgot to check out what those mean. These ones like this. But I'm getting distracted. This one looks broken off. You can see there's the saber, the tassels, star. Yeah, Captain Jason Silman, born 1833, died 1865. Well, that was after the war was over, though. The war was over in April, but maybe he died from his wounds. That could be likely. There's his marker. So yeah, broken off column. Life was cut short. But this might be a good place to end it, folks, for today, for this video. So to get a little more noisy, they're doing some work around the place here. There's always work to do here at these cemeteries to maintain and upkeep them. So that might be our signal to move on for today. But yeah, tons of new stuff. Our first, like, war monuments. I love how the symbolism, actually actually correlates with what's in the book. Some of these broken columns, the winged child, how life has been cut short. The roses on the woman's grave marker. So if you're interested, this book is spot on, I would say, with these symbolic symbols and stuff. But anyway, I think that'll be it for me today. If you want to come back to this cemetery, let me know, because there's tons of other ones we can visit as well. But this one is a beautiful one. But anyway, I think it's time to head home, folks. As always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.